Right. So ever try to land like a coding job? Like, that dream coding job, right?
Yeah, I
Can be
have.
a little tricky, right?
Yeah.
Today, we're going to deep dive into the world of coding tests.
Hmm.
You've given us a seriously, like, thought-provoking stack of articles,
Yeah.
including excerpts from "Are Coding Tests Failing to Measure Real Programming Skills?" And trust me, some
Interesting.
of this stuff we're going to uncover here, it might actually really surprise you.
It's really interesting how these tests have become like a almost a rite of passage
Yeah.
in the tech world, but
Right.
there is that growing debate
Yeah.
whether they actually, capture what it takes to be a great programmer.
Exactly, yeah. Like, are we just testing for, like, puzzle-solving skills?
Mhm.
Or are we actually figuring out who can really build, like, amazing software?
Right.
To start, can you maybe give us, like, a quick overview of the types of tests that companies use these days?
Oh, absolutely. The most common ones I would say are like the algorithmic challenges
Right.
where, they give you this problem
Uh-huh.
and you got to come up with like an efficient algorithm
Okay.
to solve it.
Yeah.
And these often,
Yeah.
involve data structures like arrays, linked lists, trees.
So, like, algorithmic challenges, it's more about the problem-solving mindset,
Yeah.
whereas, like, code implementation, that's more about proving you can actually, write
Darn,
clean working code.
yeah.
Right.
Yes, precisely.
Okay.
Then there's, the debugging tests. They throw you into this existing code
Right.
and there's like these hidden errors.
Uh-huh.
Your job is to find those bugs and fix them.
Like a digital detective.
Exactly.
Oh, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
What about those system design questions that I've heard about? Like, those
Yeah.
seem to be for more of like those senior roles.
Right. Right. Imagine, you're tasked with like architecting this massive system,
Right.
like a social media platform or something like that. And you've got to think about like scalability, reliability, security,
Wow.
how all these different components are going to interact,
Yeah.
system design questions. Those assess your ability to kind of think big picture
Uh-huh.
and design, these elegant solutions to these complex problems.
Wow. Yeah, that takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And then you have like take-home projects,
Right.
which I guess is like a real world simulation.
Exactly, yeah. These typically involve building like, a small application or a feature over a few days.
Okay.
And it gives the candidates a chance to demonstrate their coding style, their
Oh.
project management skills,
Yeah.
and how they approach like real world challenges.
Okay, so there's a lot of variety in how companies, test these coding skills.
Right.
But like the
Okay.
million-dollar question is,
Yeah.
do they actually work?
Right.
Are they actually a reliable indicator of someone's ability to actually, thrive in a real programming job?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there are pretty strong arguments on both sides.
Okay.
Proponents of coding tests, they often cite their objectivity, right?
Huh.
It provides this standardized way
Right.
to evaluate candidates, which, can help reduce bias
Mhm.
and ensure that everyone's being judged on their merits.
Yeah, I can see how that's appealing,
Yeah.
especially in a field where skills and talent are really, really paramount.
Absolutely. And another point in their favor is that,
Yeah.
it reveals the candidate's problem-solving process, right?
Okay.
So by observing how someone, approaches a coding challenge, breaks
Mhm.
it down, develops a solution,
Okay.
interviewers, they can get these insights into their thought process.
That's like, yeah, it's like a window into how their brain works, right?
Yeah.
How they approach a problem logically.
Absolutely. And for certain roles, especially
Mhm.
entry-level positions, these coding tests can be pretty effective at confirming that, someone has the base technical skills
Okay.
required for the job.
Like, if the role requires a specific language or framework,
Right.
a coding test can quickly assess, that knowledge.
Exactly. Plus, some argue that the timed nature of these tests
Yeah.
can kind of simulate the pressure
Uh-huh.
of working under tight deadlines, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's something that, developers often encounter in real world settings.
Yeah.
So it helps assess how someone performs under stress,
Okay.
whether they can, deliver results under pressure.
So there's definitely a case to be made for using them, but I'm sensing a but coming here.
Yeah, you're right. Well, while these tests do offer some valuable insights,
Yeah.
there's this growing, chorus of criticism
sorry.
about their limitations
Okay.
and whether they really reflect the skills you need to excel as a software developer.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the criticisms of these coding tests?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is that they often create this kind of artificial environment
Yeah.
that doesn't really reflect the realities of software development.
So meaning they don't accurately represent what a programmer actually does.
Exactly. In the real world,
Yeah.
developers, they have access to all sorts of resources,
Uh-huh.
documentation, colleagues, online communities, and they typically have, more time to
Yeah.
research and solve these problems. They're
Right.
not just isolated in a room
Right.
with a whiteboard and a clock ticking down,
Right. It's a much more collaborative and
Yeah.
and like dynamic environment.
And that pressure to perform
Yeah.
under these artificial constraints,
Yeah.
it can lead to, anxiety, underperformance,
Yeah.
even for, really skilled programmers.
So you could be a great test taker,
Right.
but not necessarily a great programmer.
That's the concern, yeah.
Interesting.
Another criticism is that, there's an overemphasis on algorithms and data structures,
Right.
particularly in, those infamous big tech interviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while, these are important concepts,
Uh-huh.
they often represent, just a small part of
Yeah.
what a developer actually, does on the job.
It's like judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Not everybody needs to be an algorithm wizard.
Right. And it can disadvantage,
Yeah.
experienced developers who may be, rusty on some of those academic style problems,
Yeah.
but they excel in, practical coding, problem solving,
Right.
building real world applications.
This is
Yeah.
not. It's not a. It's not a complete picture
Right.
of their capabilities. What about all of those like essential soft skills?
Right.
Communication,
Mhm.
teamwork, adaptability.
Yeah, that's another key point
Right.
that traditional coding tests, they often miss,
Mhm.
They rarely evaluate these essential human skills that are so critical really for successful software development, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
How well does someone communicate their ideas?
Right.
Can they collaborate effectively,
Uh-huh.
in a team setting?
Mm-hmm.
How do they handle feedback,
Yeah.
ambiguity?
It's about more than just writing code. It's
Mhm.
about being, like a well-rounded contributor to a team.
Exactly.
So if these traditional tests have these limitations, like what are some alternative approaches that companies can use to get, a more holistic view of a programmer's abilities?
So one promising approach is project-based assessments.
Okay.
So instead of, having these short, isolated coding challenges, give the candidates a larger multi-day project that
Okay.
more closely, resembles
Right.
a real-world development scenario.
So something that involves like, building a functional application, a feature,
yeah.
working with a larger code base,
Right.
maybe
yeah.
even collaborating with others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this allows candidates to, to show off their coding style, their
Mhm.
problem-solving approach,
Mm.
their ability to manage a project, and
Yeah.
how they handle, those complexities of a real-world development workflow.
It's a much more authentic way to evaluate
Right.
their skills,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
What other alternatives are there?
So another valuable approach is pair programming interviews.
Okay.
So in these, the candidate, they work alongside an interviewer
Uh-huh.
on a coding problem.
Yeah.
And this allows those interviewers to, observe not just the candidate's, technical skills,
Mm.
but also their communication style,
Right.
their ability to collaborate,
Right.
and how they handle, feedback in real time.
It's like getting a glimpse into how they would actually, interact and work
Really
in a team
talking about-
environment.
Yeah. And then there's the power of code review exercises.
Okay.
So here, the candidates are given some existing code and
Yeah.
they're asked to, to review it,
Uh-huh.
identify any potential issues,
Mhm.
suggest improvements, and,
Yeah.
communicate their findings really clearly.
And that tests their ability to read and understand other people's code,
Absolutely.
which is a huge part of real world development.
Huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it also assesses, their attention to detail, their ability to think critically about code quality, and how well they can communicate that, that technical feedback.
What about folks who are active in like the open source community? Like can their contributions be
Oh, absolutely. A valuable indicator of their skills.
Yeah, evaluating a candidate's contributions to open source projects can give you just a wealth of insights into their coding style, their collaboration skills, their problem-solving abilities.
Okay.
And even, even their passion for the craft.
Yeah.
It's like a real-world portfolio that demonstrates, their ability to work on meaningful projects.
It's not just about what they say they can do.
Right.
It's about showing that they can actually, build and contribute to real software.
Absolutely.
What other alternative approaches are out there?
Sometimes the most valuable insights come from just good old-fashioned technical discussions. In-depth conversations about past projects, technical decisions, approaches to problem solving. These can reveal a candidate's, depth of knowledge. It's like getting a peek inside their mind.
Yeah.
Like how do they how do they think about software?
Yeah.
How do they approach challenges?
Yeah. And then finally, there's this idea of simulating real work scenarios.
Okay.
So this could involve giving candidates a bug to fix in a large code base, adding a feature to an existing application, or even working on a small project that mimics a real world client request.
So it's about creating challenges that closely resemble the work that they would actually be doing on the job.
Yeah, this type of assessment can provide much more accurate insights into a candidate's practical skills and their ability to navigate those complexities of real-world development.
So it sounds like there's a whole spectrum of alternative approaches that can give a much richer and more nuanced picture of a programmer's abilities than just a traditional coding test.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway here. It's about moving beyond that narrow focus on algorithms and technical puzzles and embracing this more holistic view of what makes, a great programmer.
And that brings us to platforms like Algocademy. Okay. And while they do focus on algorithms and data structures to help people prepare for those technical interviews, they also seem to be trying to bridge that gap between test prep and real world skills development.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Algocademy is a really interesting example of a platform that, recognizes those limitations of the traditional coding tests and tries to provide a more, well-rounded learning experience.
So can you elaborate on that? What sets them apart?
One thing that stands out to me is their focus on interactive coding tutorials.
Okay.
So, they create this more hands-on learning environment where you're not just, passively absorbing information.
Right.
You're actually, writing code, experimenting, getting immediate feedback.
So it's more engaging and more,
exactly
closely resembles how you would actually work in a real development environment.
And their platform is structured in a way that guides users through this progressive learning journey.
Okay.
They start with these fundamental concepts and gradually, build up to those more advanced topics.
It's like a roadmap for developing, a solid foundation in programming.
Yeah, and while they do prepare users for those, for those technical interviews, they also emphasize, practical coding skills that are directly applicable to real-world development.
So it's not just about acing the test. It's about equipping you with the skills you need to actually succeed in a real job.
Exactly.
What else make them stand out?
Another interesting aspect is their use of AI to provide that personalized guidance and feedback.
Okay.
This helps learners develop effective problem-solving strategies and coding techniques that go beyond just, memorizing solutions.
It's like having a virtual mentor who can tailor tailor the learning experience to your individual needs.
Yeah, and they offer this really comprehensive library of resources, encouraging a holistic approach to learning programming that aligns with all the diverse skills that you need in a professional setting.
So it's not just about drilling algorithms.
Right.
It's about
expanding
your knowledge.
Yeah.
And developing that well-rounded skill set.
Exactly.
So platforms like Algocademy are playing a really valuable role.
Yeah, I think so.
In helping aspiring programmers navigate the challenges of both technical interviews and real-world development.
Yeah.
So with all this in mind, like what advice would you give to someone who is trying to break into the tech industry? Okay. How do you balance preparing for these potentially tricky coding tests with developing the real world skills that you need to actually thrive as a programmer?
Well, I think the first thing is really focus on like understanding those fundamental concepts rather than just like memorizing solutions,
Right. So it's about building like a really strong foundation of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just learning. The tricks to pass the test.
Right. When you're tackling those coding challenges, don't just aim for like the right answer. Really trying to delve deeper into the underlying principles. The problem-solving techniques involved.
Yeah. And complement your test prep with real-world projects.
Absolutely.
Engage in personal projects. Contribute to open source initiatives. Anything that allows you to really like work on something meaningful. Build a portfolio. Gain experience with larger code bases.
Show initiative. Apply what you've learned. Demonstrate that you can actually build real software.
And don't underestimate the power of code review. Seek out opportunities to review other people's code. Have your own code reviewed.
Absolutely.
It's like having a mentor, kind of looking over your shoulder, providing valuable feedback and guidance.
Yeah, and of course, master those version control systems like Git. I mean, these are essential tools in any professional development environment. They allow you to collaborate effectively, track changes, manage different versions of your software.
It's like learning the language of teamwork in the coding world, right?
Exactly.
And finally, never stop honing those all important soft skills.
Right.
Communication, teamwork, adaptability.
These are the things that will set you apart, make you a valuable team member, and help you navigate the ever-changing, world of software development.
Because ultimately being a great programmer is about more than just, writing code.
Right.
It's about, being a great collaborator, a great communicator, a great problem solver.
Yeah, I think the most successful programmers are those who can, combine their technical prowess with those strong interpersonal skills and a real passion for continuous learning.
So we've explored the limitations of these traditional coding tests. We've uncovered some really exciting alternative approaches, to evaluating programming talent, and we even looked at platforms like Algocademy that are kind of trying to bridge that gap between test prep and real world skills development.
Right.
But the big question is what does the future hold for this field? Like what will programming skill assessments look like?
That's a good question.
5 or 10 years from now?
I think we'll see a continued shift towards these more holistic and dynamic assessment methods. I think companies are increasingly recognizing that, it's important to evaluate a candidate's full range of abilities, not just their technical skills.
Right. So it's about moving beyond those narrow architectural puzzles and embracing a much more nuanced and multifaceted view of what makes a great programmer.
Yeah, we might even see like a rise in hybrid assessment models that combine traditional coding tests with project-based assessments, pair programming exercises, behavioral interviews.
Okay.
The goal would be, to really get this comprehensive understanding.
Yeah, it's about looking at the whole package, not just one isolated skill set.
Yeah, we might also see like the emergence of AI-powered evaluation tools that can analyze code, not just for correctness, but also for things like efficiency, readability, maintainability.
So AI could actually play a role in making the evaluation process more comprehensive and insightful.
Yeah, and I think we'll see a greater emphasis on portfolio-based hiring.
Okay.
Where candidates are judged more on their past projects, their open source contributions, their real world experience.
Yeah, so it's about valuing what someone has actually built and contributed to the world, not just their ability to solve these abstract puzzles.
Yeah, exactly.
The future of programming skill assessment is likely to be, more dynamic, more personalized, more aligned with the actual demands of the software development industry.
Absolutely.
So to our listeners out there, who are on this journey of learning and growing as programmers, what's like the one key takeaway you would leave them with?
I would say embrace the journey. Don't get so caught up in the pressure of the coding tests or the pursuit of any single skill. Just focus on building a really strong foundation of knowledge, developing a diverse set of skills. Cultivate those essential soft skills, and never lose that passion for learning and exploring this ever evolving world of software development.
Because it's not just about acing the test. It's about building a really fulfilling and impactful career as a programmer.
Yeah.
So keep those brains buzzing, keep those keyboards clicking, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with code.
Well said. Well said.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of coding tests and the evolving landscape of programming skill assessment.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
It really has.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds for evaluating programming talent? Share your insights, your experiences, your predictions with us.
Yeah.
Because after all, the future of programming really depends on finding and nurturing
absolutely
the very best talent, and that starts with a conversation.
I agree.